Im and Pito created a monster, albeit a cute pink one. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another video, and today's video will be my review on the latest episode of Sword Art Alternative Gun Gale Online, Episode 7, Booby Trap. And I gotta say, this episode was even more brutal than the first episode of the first Squad Jam tournament by far, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. So for now, let's talk about the actual episode. The episode begins with the teams being teleported into the battlefield, where we find Lin and Fukizaru teleported into the residential zone, the zone where Lin took out the pro team during the first Squad Jam. But this time, something about the battlefield is different. Well, actually, there are three things that are different and immediately jump out at you. First is the presence of a huge wall, a boundary fence in all likelihood. Next is this mysterious big dome, and third and finally, train tracks. But as Lin and Fukizaru scan the map, they notice something that's particularly troubling for Lin, and that is the fact that they are in the furthest corner of the battlefield, while Pito's team, PM4, is on the opposite furthest corner. And as time goes on, it's revealed that they separated all the prospect teams, something that aggravates not only Lin, but it also aggravates Eva and Pito too. So with no other choice, Lin decides they're just going to have to fight their way to Pito and PM4, but not before getting some encouragement from Fukizaru in the form of her telling Lin, hey, you need to cheer up. In life, things don't always go the way you want. You've gotten this far, and that's when she also reminds Lin that she's been watching her. So with that, the two of them set off to find and engage the nearest team. But not before Fukizaru gets her legs blown off by a booby trap. She sets off a tripwire, and it blows off her legs. And yeah, so she has no legs at this point, which is something that Lin takes responsibility for, as she forgot to warn her about the booby traps. And Lin ends up dragging her into a nearby house. Freaked out by the explosion, the nearby team that set the booby trap begins to investigate as Lin watches them from the house. Fukizaru then actually begs Lin to leave her there, disappointed that she allowed this to happen. But Lin recalls that limbs will regenerate after a couple of minutes, and then she assures Fukizaru that she will not leave her there and to just stay down low, before assuring her that she'd give this team a taste of the first Squad Jam tournament champion's power. As the enemy encircles the house they're held up in, Lin comes charging at them, shooting one of the enemy with a straight line of bullets straight up and down along the body axis like she did in the battle with the Amazons, and kills a second player with a point-blank shot to the forehead before going after a third player, not with P-chan this time, but rather with her knife. We then see Lin charge in between the guy's legs, slicing his legs, but also straight up into... well, for fear of violating YouTube guidelines, I won't say exactly where, but guys will understand all too clear the brutality of Lin's attack, and we'll just leave it at that. And it's interesting because we even go back to the viewing area where everyone marvels at the Pink Devil's brutality, but also are quaking in fear. We even see a couple of guys guarding their junk as they watch on. But yeah, so back on the battlefield, Lin is saved by Fukizaru, who ends up shooting a grenade at point-blank range at a couple of the other team members from the doorway of the house, killing one of them. And she does this despite the fact she has no legs. At this point, she's just like on her stumps, and she said that a true woman repays her debts when Lin marvels at this. But we then transition to a few of the other teams. First are the machine gun lovers, who had just been eliminated by the Memento Mori guys, as well as the Amazons led by Eva, who are currently locked in combat along the train lines, as well as a couple of other teams before turning back to Im and Pito, who are currently safe and not locked in battle high up on the mountain, much to Pito's disappointment. But Im assures her that this is part of the plan. But despite Pito's objections, the team stays put, especially when Im told Pito to shut up. He's the team leader, and she will follow orders, as Im assures Pito that the strong players will end up coming to them, like Lin, much to Pito's delight. We then go back to Lin and Fukizaru back at the house they're holding up in, as Fukizaru is dancing around happy that her legs are back and have regenerated. You cannot blame her for this, she gets her legs back, but I digress. Anyway, the two girls wait for the scan and decide to move out towards the train station, as Fukizaru tells Lin she has an idea for their strategy for what to do next with the next team, even going so far as to assure Lin that this idea is so good you won't even have to fire a single shot. We then go back to the Amazons, but more precisely Eva, who is so frustrated with their predicament she starts shouting out for other teams to take them on, even going so far as to say, "Come on and take us on if you have the balls." It's something her team isn't particularly happy about, as they kindly, and in a roundabout way, tell her to stop talking dirty and talk like a lady, to which Eva responds by saying, "Everyone, have you no testicles?" Because, yeah, that's so much better, but anyway. We then briefly check back to PM4 and Memento Mori, who are still just holding their current positions, before going back to Lin and Fukuzaru, who are closing in on the train station, where another team is hiding out behind the concrete train platform. Ironically, this fight will take place next to a church. And this fight is a little bit different because rather than a full frontal assault, Fukuzaru uses her grenade launcher angled between her legs to launch the grenades at them in a mortar-style attack, as Lin, who is hiding on a rooftop, guides her and tells her where to aim. And much to Lin's amazement, this plan works great, as Fukuzaru launches 12 grenades at this team and wipes them out, of course. And all Lin basically had to do was tell her the position to fire at. And their current hiding spot just makes this team like fish in a barrel. Fukuzaru has no problems wiping them out. And that's when she tells Lin that she had spent hours practicing, measuring, and hitting targets by just its feeling. It's training that clearly paid off and impressed Lin as they began their advance. Lin, of course, concerned by what has transpired, as we learn during all this that 7 teams have all formed an alliance, working together to wipe out Pito and PM4 and take the mountain position they're holding, much to Pito's amusement. But the Amazons and Memento Mori's teams are not convinced by this. They're saying that team alliances are no good, this is a battle royale, and they're not a good idea. And they actually go so far as to comment that if they were asked to join this alliance, they would have just wiped out all the alliance teams before they went and took on PM4. But, of course, the cards they've been dealt, they're on their own. They don't get involved in this battle. They just decide to wait it out and see what comes of the gunfight between PM4 and this alliance, which could be as many as 42 players. While Lin and Fukuzaru continue their advance towards the big dome, where Fukuzaru once again has to remind Lin to be careful and not to lose her head over this, and that if Pito and M are as resourceful as she says they are, they'll do fine. While back with PM4, Pito begins laughing, and when asked what they'll do, Pito responds by saying, "We'll ambush and massacre all of them." And that was pretty much where the episode left off. Now, like I said before, this episode was brutal, but I do like how Lin and Fukuzaru traded off with one another, taking the lead in the fights of this episode, as well as Fukuzaru being like the friend who guides Lin, kind of like a big sister. It really does highlight how strong their friendship is, and it reminds me of times when my brother and my dad and my grandpa, all military guys, used to tell me, nothing builds friendship like combat, and if you can't count on the person you're fighting with, you're as good as dead. And you can definitely see that here in this episode, but I digress. Anyway, overall, I really enjoyed this episode. There were times I found myself laughing, times I found myself crying, and even shouting along with this episode, almost like I was there myself. But as an episode overall, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm really looking forward to PM4's next battle, or their first battle rather, next week. But as always, in the comments section down below, let me know what you guys thought about this week's episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just there? Just let me know in the comments section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. All right, everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.